Brad, especially against Tennessee, Florida very effective in the run game. What makes them go in the run game? What are they good at in the run game?
Yeah, I mean they're a really talented running football team, and it's obviously the first place you go is the running backs. You know, the 7-2 are as good as you'll find in this league. ETN with his burst and 2 with his strength really poses a huge issue, and they're really patient. They set up their blocks. They do a nice job targeting their zones. Like they stay on the right people. You don't get a ton of penetration, and when they do, again, those running backs are able to make it right. They stay in very manageable down and distances, so then they can continue to run the football, and so they don't get behind the sticks much. The quarterback does a nice job protecting the ball, so again, it gives them the ability that if they want to run it, on third down, they can run it on third down, and they've got a manageable fourth if they wanted to do that. So, no, it's a huge challenge. Obviously the best rushing team we're going to have faced up to this point, and probably one of the best, if not the best, we'll face this year. So we got to play strong up front. We got to play physical. We talked about light boxes last week. You can in this one. Like you're going to have as many bodies in there, and you're going to have to rally tackle. They can run through blocks, and so we got to tackle well. We got to be able to strike and separate. We got to do all the fundamental things.
Is that kind of one of the biggest matchups, their offensive line and your defensive line this week?
Every game it's going to be that you got to win in the trenches first, right? And then, but the linebackers have to do a nice job on their tight ends, right? The outside linebackers. We've got to be able to match up against the receivers, because they're going to go play action pass, and they're going to push the ball vertically down the field, and you got to be able to stick with them. We're going to have to be able to conversion rush, to try to create an uneasy pocket, for the Q. So no, overall it's just a really balanced football team, that starts with the run, and the run sets up the pass.
How different is what they're asking Graham Mertz to do this year versus what he did at Wisconsin, and how much do you kind of think this special from those spots?
Yeah, I think there's some carryover in the fact that both teams were, they always sort of pride themselves on the run game, right? And then it builds into the pass game. I think what Mertz is doing a really nice job of is he's protecting the football, and people don't need to not get it twisted. He's just a game manager. No, that's not. It's being smart with the football. It's how you win football games, and he does a nice job, of, hey, listen, if it's not there, why force it? Take the check down, get it to those backs, and you don't have to just hand it to the running backs in the run game. Like, you can check it down in the pass game. Both of them have good hands, whether it's in the boot game, they do a really nice job in the boot, give him sort of some easy layered reads, and he puts it on target. The receivers do a nice job of understanding just sort of how to create enough space, and I think it's a system that he's comfortable with. He looks very comfortable operating it, and so that's going to be a key for us, is we have to try to create a little bit of uncomfort. We've got to make it uncomfortable for him, and make him operate in a sort of a dirty pocket.
Well, how do you feel about the way you defended against the run?
I think for a large chunk, I thought it's been solid. I thought we've fitted up, for the most part, pretty good. We've let a couple get out. Some are based on the call, some misfits, which you're going to have each year. But for the most part, I thought they've been solid. But we're really going to get challenged and tested this week.
Maxwell Harrison had another big game on Saturday. Can you just talk about what you've seen from him this year, and how can he affect this game coming up this week?
Yeah, I think we talked about it going into this season that, hey, don't be surprised if some of these corners, jump off and make plays, because they've shown it in spring, they showed it in fall camp. Those first, we talked about it in game one, he was he was very much sort of seeing, right, an individual tree, and he wasn't sort of seeing the big picture and seeing the forest, and that's what you'd expect from a first-time starter. That's really sort of, he's nervous, he's trying to do right, and now he's gotten to the point now through game 4, he's been able to just relax and play, and he's playing really well. Andrew's playing really well, opposite him. So we need those guys to continue. How can they affect the game? Yeah, I mean, all the time. I mean, how can they? They're going to have to cover. They're going to have to win some one-on-one balls. Everybody's going to push the ball down the field at some point. Obviously, some of those PI calls are, could go either way, whether it's a flag, whether it's not. He's going to have a short memory, and he's going to, have to make those plays that we don't get a flag, and because flags extend drives, flags lead to points. You saw that on Saturday. So he's going to have to continue to play well. In sort of his one-on-one matchups, he's done a nice job sort of as a clouded corner. Both those interceptions were in that, and able to play with some vision. But he's going to have to continue to be able to just match up.
Brad, obviously every year is different, but you guys have won the last 2 against Florida. There's a certain level of confidence in this series. You sense that from your guys, this Florida game, it's a big game for everybody.
Yeah, I think the big thing is this. What happened last year means nothing. So whether, you beat a team once, you beat them multiple times, whatever the case is, you have to erase that. Now, is there a confidence level? Yeah, not because we've beaten them, recently. I think there's just a confidence level in the fact that they trust their teammates, they trust themselves, and they're playing, with a little bit of an edge and a swagger, and so I don't think it's team determined. I think they just love to play ball, and whoever you put out against them. Obviously, when you get an SEC opponent, that's sort of a traditional, what everybody thinks is sort of traditionally respected. Yeah, I think that amps up. I think that's just sort of competitive nature.
Brett, going back to the defensive backs play in a game like this, is there physicality on the edges and the tackling they've shown this year kind of magnified in this kind of matchup?
Yeah, I mean, they're going to force they're going to force edge DBs to fit and tackle. I mean, it's in this style run game, all 11 are going to have to be involved at some point. And so I've been fairly pleased, with our tackling when that ball rolls to the edge. If we do a nice job, setting firm edges with our edge defenders, hopefully we can, we can minimize a little bit, of those backs getting out there.
Right, yesterday Liam talked about terrible Tuesdays and wicked Wednesdays, just information overload, I guess, on his guys' sort of this midway point in the week. Do you ever feel that way? Do you have any nicknames for the days of the week?
Is it over yet? Yeah, you have those on Tuesdays. And here's what it comes down to is that we as coaches start that game plan prep on Sundays, right? And then it's Mondays you get all day, and then Tuesdays you have your first heavy practice. Now we're out there on Mondays, light, and so they get sort of an introduction. But we're always a day or two ahead, and so it always makes more sense to you as a coach, and you want to be like, don't you see it? And then you have to say, well, you know what? This is their first day they've heard that. It's the third day that you've been studying it, and you get to do that all day long. They have to go to class. They have other responsibilities. And so as a coach, you have to just train yourself to sort of grind through those 2 days, because by Thursday and Friday is when it sinks in. And so I remember early I would get really frustrated after a Tuesday and really frustrated after a Wednesday, because I'm like, man, we have got no shot come Saturday. But then you go through practice on Thursday and it's a little bit better, and then you go through Friday through the run through, and then you're like, all right, you know what? It's sunk in and he's got it, and then boom, all of a sudden, come Saturday, it made sense, and it was far easier and far cleaner than it ever was in the practice field. We also tend to give the hardest looks in practice to try to make it easy on game days. So, practice film can get pretty ugly. on Tuesday and Wednesday, but you make those corrections so you hope you're ready for Saturday.
John, last one.
What have you seen from Keyshawn Silver in these first 4 games as he's adapting to your system and what you're asking him to do?
I think you see growth. Like I think you really start seeing that potential, that lies in him. And the first game, the first couple games, like really played strong, really played physical. Like man, yes, this is really what we're. But still a little tight, a little rigid. Would just stay stuck on some blocks. Hey, coach told me to drive the center, so I'm just going to drive the center. Well, that's the game of football is tackle the man with the ball. So at some point you have to disengage and go get that guy. And so now, again, just kind of like we talked about Max earlier, all right, he's got a lot of snaps under his belt after those first 2 games. Now, game 3, you see him start to disconnect and go attack the ball. Game 4, you see it even more, and now you see some conversion and pass rush. And so as long as we continue to see that growth, I think the sky's the limit.
Okay, folks, thank you very much.